Hey, so I have this old floor tom here. It's a 14-inch floor tom, and I wanted to do something different with it. I've never liked the cream wrap or the black hardware, and I thought I'd try and combine it with the snare drum to make a kind of snare drum tom. If you hear songs from a band going Oingo Boingo, they have a lot of songs that use two different snare drums. You can hear that here with this clip of a song called Capitalism. Two different sounds of snare drum. So I thought I'd buy a snare drum, take the mechanism off and put it on this tom. Let's see what it sounds like. So here I have this Sonic's basic snare drum. I just bought this for the mechanism so I don't care too much about the rest of it, but I also use the hoops off this. So here's that tom as I mentioned before, and you'll notice that there are parts falling off it already, so there's already a few things I've got to address. First I'll start by taking off all the hardware off this tom, putting it into a safe little box. Next, I'll take off all of the hardware from the snare drum, and I won't actually need to take off all the hardware, so I'll just take off the hoops and the mechanism. Next, what I'll do is I'll measure where the mounting holes for the hardware will sit. And there's a lot of different ways I could have done this. I ended up using a square just to mark off where the points of the holes were. I probably should have paid more attention to this, as you'll see shortly. Now I'll mark off where the holes need to be drilled on the tom to mount the snare drum hardware. Now, you'll notice a problem here. So this bit is like watching a ship sinking. There's nothing we can do to stop it, but I'm going to try and drill the holes on the wrong side of the drum. Ah, dear me. At this point that I realised what I had done. This is a lesson where I should always measure. That's where the feet go. This is where I drilled the hole. I've drilled them on the wrong side. So I'm going to have to do that again. I mean, these are going to be wrapped anyway, so it won't matter that much, right? Now that those holes are drilled, maybe in the wrong place, we need to get this ugly wrap off. So I'm using a hairdryer to try and melt the glue. Also using a knife to try and cut the wrap away as well. The point where I can definitely tell this is not the original wrap. Look at all this glue. And it's clear that they spray painted the inside but also some of the outside. I really don't know what they've done with this thing. So I'm wrapping this drum in some adhesive wrap stuff. I got this at Wilco, and I've used this before, and it's kind of a budget way of wrapping something. I think it's designed for like kitchen side units or something to make them look different. But anyway, it's a lot cheaper than buying drum wrap officially, so here it is. Now I'm using a sander to put in some snare beds. Now, these are little indents on the bottom of the drum for the snares to rest on and not cause too much pressure on the drum surface. In hindsight I probably should have done more of this, but never mind. Now all that's left to do is put the whole thing back together. Start off with the air vent. Now I won't tell you how much of a disaster this was to get the old one off, but I got this one that has a screw on, so it's easy to remove in the future. And next we'll be looking to put the actual snare mechanism on. I wanted to do this first just to see if it would look alright and if it was all aligned correctly, and it looks like it was all okay. Now after this, all that's left is to put on all the lugs, then put the hoops and the skins on and tune it up, and then we're away. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot the legs, so I need to put the leg mounts on, and I had to buy some replacement screws to avoid the whole legs falling off like it did before. Now the whole thing's put together, now all that's left to do is tune it up and play it. Now it's turned out to be quite a versatile drum. You can use it as a tom in this case, and if you can name the song, please put it in the comments. And yes, we can use it as a snare drum as well, as you'll see now. Now if you want to try this at home, here are some lessons that I have learned along the way. First one is I should have bought a better snare drum. The mechanism is a bit pants on this one, so in all honesty I'd use a better drum next time. The only reason I did this project is because I already had this tom and I wanted to do something with it, but next time if I was starting again, I would use a different drum altogether. Something with a bit nicer, thicker wood or a better bearing edge. Number 3, now the bearing edges, which are the edge of the inside of the drum, were completely rounded in the tom. I think it would be better if I set them out as like a 45-degree edge, but I don't actually have the kit to do that really, other than the sander, so I opted not to do it this time. As the drum sounded better with more tighter snare drum tuning, it would be better if I took off more of the snare bed to make that tension even across the bottom head. I could always do this in the future. And finally, number 5, I should have looked at which side I was drilling the holes on when I was putting in the snare mechanism. Never mind. Thank you all very much for watching. I've got more content on the way, mostly to do with homebrewing stuff, but I might have more drum stuff to come as well.